The security camera footage shows the exact moment my family's faces changed. 47 seconds. That's how long they stood frozen in my doorway, staring at me like I'd materialized from another dimension. My father's hand was still raised, mid-knock. Marcus had this half-smile stuck on his face, the one he wore when he expected to be impressed. My mother clutched her purse tighter. Priya's mouth formed a perfect O. I'm Angela Reyes. I'm 29 years old. I'm a software engineer who just sold her company for $8.2 million. And until that Saturday afternoon in October, my family had no idea I was anything more than their disappointing daughter who did tech support. When I opened the door and said, "Welcome to my home," I wasn't being dramatic. I was stating a fact. This 5,000 square foot restored craftsman mansion with the original oak floors and the meditation garden I designed myself, this was mine. Every square inch paid for with code I'd written at 3 in the morning, while my father told everyone at Sunday dinner that Marcus was the only one with real ambition. But here's what people don't understand about revenge. It's not the mansion that mattered. It's not even the look on their faces, though I won't lie and say that didn't feel good. What mattered was that for 3 years I'd built an empire in complete silence, while they treated me like I was still trying to figure out my life. The real revenge was that I'd stopped needing them to believe in me. I just hadn't told them yet. Before we dive into how I set myself free, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy this story. Where are you watching from? Drop your city below in the comments. Now let me take you back to where it all began. I used to think my family was my foundation. Growing up, the Reyes household ran like a well-oiled machine. My father, immigrated from India at 23 with $200 and a degree in business administration. He built a successful import company from nothing. My mother, Deepa, was the steady hand behind every decision, the one who remembered birthdays and made sure we all showed up for family dinners every single Sunday. Marcus is 3 years older than me. When we were kids, he was the brother who taught me how to ride a bike, who stayed up late helping me with algebra, even though math bored him to tears. I remember being 12, crying in my room because some girls at school were excluding me from their group. Marcus sat on the floor outside my door for an hour just talking to me through the wood until I laughed. Priya came along when I was 3. She was the baby, and I loved her fiercely. I braided her hair for school pictures. I taught her how to apply eyeliner without stabbing herself in the eye. When she got her heart broken at 16, I bought ice cream, and we watched terrible movies until 2 in the morning. We were a unit. That's what my father always said. The Reyes family is a unit. We protect each other. We lift each other up. I believed him. I believed him when I graduated with a degree in computer science, and my father threw me a party. He gave a toast that night, standing in our backyard with a glass of champagne raised high. "To Angela," he said, "my brilliant daughter. May she find stable work and a good man who appreciates her mind." Stable work. Even then, there was a qualifier. But I told myself he meant well. He came from a generation that valued security over risk. He wanted me safe. Marcus went into commercial real estate right out of college. Within 2 years, he'd closed his first major deal, a shopping plaza renovation that made the local news. My father framed the article. It still hangs in his office. When I took my first job as a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company, my father asked, "Is that like IT? Do you fix computers?" "Kind of," I said, because explaining back-end development felt exhausting. Good, steady paycheck, benefits. That's smart, Angela." Marcus clapped me on the shoulder. "Solid choice, sis. Not everyone can handle the pressure of commission-based work. You know your limits." I remember that moment so clearly. We were standing in the kitchen. My mother was pulling a roast out of the oven. The smell of rosemary filled the air. Priya was setting the table, humming something off-key. I smiled. I nodded. I said, "Yeah, I know my limits." And I believed that he meant it kindly. I believed he was acknowledging that we had different strengths, different paths. Looking back now, I can see it was the first crack. But back then, I still thought my family saw me. Sunday dinners were our sacred time. No matter what was happening in our lives, we showed up. My mother made elaborate Indian meals, paneer tikka, biryani, samosas that took her hours to fold. We'd sit around the table and my father would ask about our weeks. Marcus always had stories. A difficult client he'd won over, a property that 3 other agents had failed to sell. He'd lean back in his chair, gesturing with his hands, and my father would watch him with this expression of pure pride. "This is what I'm talking about," my father would say. "This is what it means to be hungry, to fight for what you want." Then he'd turn to me. "And you, Angela? How's the tech support going?" "It's software engineering, Dad." Right, engineering. You help people with their computer problems." Something like that. My mother would pat my hand. "Angela's always been more quiet. She likes her routine. There's nothing wrong with that." Priya would be scrolling through her phone, barely listening. Marcus would wink at me across the table like we were sharing a joke. For years, I told myself this was love. Families have hierarchies. Birth order matters. Marcus was the firstborn son. Of course he got more attention. That was cultural. That was normal. I told myself I didn't need validation. I told myself I was fine with being the quiet one, the steady one, the one who didn't make waves. I told myself that keeping my dreams small and private was a form of self-protection, not self-erasure. I told myself these things every Sunday as I sat at that table, eating my mother's cooking, listening to my father praise Marcus for the 100th time, watching Priya absorb the lesson that achievement meant being loud, being bold, being anything other than what I was. And I almost believed it. The shift was so gradual, I didn't notice it at first. It started about 6 months after I began working on my side project. I'd gotten the idea at work. Our property management software was clunky, outdated, prone to crashes. I mentioned to my supervisor that AI could streamline the whole process. He told me that was above my pay grade. So I started building it myself. Nights and weekends I coded. I taught myself machine learning frameworks. I joined online communities, participated in hackathons. I built a prototype that could predict maintenance issues before they happened, optimize rent pricing based on market fluctuations, automate tenant communications. I didn't tell my family, not because I was keeping secrets, because it felt fragile, precious. Like if I said it out loud, someone would tell me all the reasons it wouldn't work. But they noticed I was distracted. "Angela's been quiet lately," my mother said one Sunday. We were having dessert, gulab jamun, sweet and sticky. "I'm always quiet," I said. "No, I mean quieter than usual. Are you feeling okay? You're not depressed, are you?" Marcus looked up from his phone. "She's probably just tired. That 9-to-5 grind can be brutal. No variety, you know? Same thing every day." "I actually like my job," I said. Sure. I'm just saying, at least in my work, every day is different. Every client is a new puzzle." He smiled at me. That brotherly smile I used to find comforting. "But not everyone thrives on that kind of chaos. You're more of a creature of habit." My father nodded. "Angela's always been that way, even as a child. She liked routine, structure." I wanted to tell them about my project, about the investors I'd been talking to, the patent attorney I'd consulted, about the fact that I was building something that could genuinely change an industry. Instead, I said, "More tea, anyone?" The comments became more frequent. At Marcus's 30th birthday party, one of his colleagues asked what I did for work. Before I could answer, Marcus jumped in. Angela's in IT. She keeps the computers running. The unsung hero of the digital age. He raised his glass. Seriously, we'd all be lost without people like my sister. Someone's got to do the unglamorous work. His friends laughed. Not meanly, just casually, like it was a given that my work was less important. I smiled, I clinked glasses. I went home and coded until 4 in the morning. By the end of the first year, I had a working product. By month 18, I had 3 small property management companies using it. By month 20, I had venture capital interest. And still, I said nothing. Because Sunday dinners had become performances I wasn't sure I wanted to disrupt. My father would talk about Marcus's latest sale. He's eyeing a commercial property downtown, could be the biggest deal of his career. My mother would turn to me. And Angela, how's your little job? Little job? It's fine, Mom. You know, Mrs. Kapoor's daughter is a teacher now. Very respectable. Good hours, lots of vacation time. Have you ever thought about, I'm happy where I am? Priya would chime in, Angie's not really ambitious like that, Mom. She's more of a, what did you call it, Marcus? A creature of habit. They'd all laugh, gently, affectionately, like they were describing a beloved pet. I started arriving late to Sunday dinners, leaving early. I'd claim work deadlines, which wasn't a lie. I was working constantly. But the real reason was that I couldn't stand the weight of their assumptions. Marcus started giving me career advice. You know, sis, you should really think about getting into management. You've been at that company for what, 3 years now? If you're not moving up, you're moving out. That's how the corporate world works. I'm actually working on something outside of work, I said once. He looked interested. Yeah, like a certification? That's smart. Always be learning. Not exactly. I'm building. Oh, a side hustle. Good for you. What is it, like an Etsy shop? Priya does that too. Made like $200 last month. I stopped talking. He kept going. The thing is, Angela, you have to be strategic. You can't just coast. I know you like your comfort zone, but real success requires risk. Look at me. I take risks every single day. I looked at him, my big brother, the one who taught me to ride a bike, and I realized he had no idea who I was. None of them did. They'd written my story years ago, and nothing I did would change the narrative they'd already decided on. So I stopped trying to change it. The sale went through on a Tuesday in September. $8.2 million. I sat in the attorney's office, signing document after document, and felt absolutely nothing. No elation, no triumph, just this weird, hollow calm. The acquisition team wanted me to stay on as a consultant. I agreed. The money hit my account 3 days later. I bought the mansion the following week. I'd been looking at real estate casually for months, just browsing, imagining. This particular house had been on the market for almost a year. It was a 1920s craftsman that needed extensive restoration. Most buyers saw a money pit. I saw potential. I paid cash, I hired contractors, I designed every detail, the meditation garden with the koi pond, the library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, the home office with windows facing east, so I could watch the sunrise while I worked. I moved in October 1st. And still, I told no one, not because I was planning some grand reveal, because it felt private, a life I was building that existed completely separate from their perceptions of who I was supposed to be. Then Marcus sent the group chat message. Marcus, found the perfect bachelor pad. It's a total diamond in the rough. Needs vision, but that's my specialty. Family, I want you to see this place before I make an offer. Sunday after dinner? I looked at the address. It was my address. My realtor had listed it briefly. I wanted to gauge market interest, see what comparable properties were selling for. I'd delisted it 3 days later. Apparently, Marcus had seen it in that window. Dad: absolutely, this is exciting, son. Your mother and I will be there. Mom: so proud of you, Beta. Send us the details. Priya: OMG, yes, I want to see what kind of taste you have, lol. I stared at my phone. I could have texted them right then, told them it was my house, but something stopped me. Maybe I wanted to see what would happen. Maybe I was tired of being invisible. Maybe I just wanted one moment where they had to see me. Sunday dinner was excruciating. My father talked about Marcus's eye for potential. My mother worried whether the neighborhood was safe enough. Priya showed everyone Pinterest boards she'd made for Marcus's future man cave. No one asked me how I was doing. No one noticed I was quieter than usual. We finished eating. My mother packed up leftovers for Marcus. My father clapped him on the shoulder. This is how you build wealth, son. Real estate. Tangible assets. Exactly, Marcus said. Not everyone understands that. Some people are happy with their salaries and their 401ks, but that's not how you get ahead. He wasn't looking at me when he said it. He didn't have to. We drove in 2 cars to the address. I took my own car, following behind. My hands were steady on the wheel. They pulled up to the curb. I watched them get out, watched Marcus point at the architecture, heard my father's approving noises. I parked in the driveway. They were halfway up the walkway when my father noticed. Angela, what are you doing here? I got out of my car, walked to my front door, put my key in the lock. I live here. Marcus laughed. What? Angie, this is the house I'm touring. There must be some confusion. I opened the door, stepped inside, turned to face them. Welcome to my home. 47 seconds. I counted. Marcus spoke first. What is this? Are you house-sitting? I own it, I said. I bought it last month. My mother's voice was sharp. Angela, that's not funny. I'm not joking, Mom. My father's face was doing something complicated. How could you possibly afford? I sold my company, I said. The one I've been building for 3 years, the AI-driven property management platform. I sold it to a tech conglomerate for $8.2 million. Silence. Priya broke it. You're lying. I'm not. But you work in IT, my mother said. You do tech support. I'm a software engineer. I built a company. I sold it. I bought this house. These are facts. Marcus was shaking his head. Why wouldn't you tell us? And there it was, the question I'd been waiting for. I looked at my brother, my brilliant, charismatic, beloved brother. When would I have told you, Marcus? During the dinners where Dad talked about your latest sale for 45 minutes? Or maybe during the times you explained how I needed to be more ambitious? Or should I have mentioned it when you introduced me to your colleagues as your sister who does the unglamorous work? His face went pale. I looked at my father. You wanted me to find stable work. I did. I just didn't stop there. My mother's eyes were filling with tears. Angela, we had no idea. No, I said quietly, you didn't, and you never asked. I'm going to pause here for a second. If this story is resonating with you at all, or if you've ever felt the pain of being misunderstood by the people who are supposed to love you most, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It really lets me know that sharing these hard stories is worth it. The first call came at 11 that night. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. Angie, it's me. Listen, I think we got off on the wrong foot today. Can we talk? I'm trying to understand. Call me back. The second call was my mother at 7 the next morning. Angela, your father and I didn't sleep at all last night. We need to talk about this. You're not thinking clearly. $8 million? That's not possible. Someone must be scamming you. Please, Beta, let us help you. I texted back, It's real, Mom. I'm fine. I need some space. The family group chat exploded. Priya, okay, so are we just going to pretend yesterday didn't happen, like Angela just casually owns a mansion? Dad, this is a family matter. We should discuss it privately. Marcus, I've been trying to reach her. She won't answer. Mom, she says she needs space. I think we should respect that. Dad, respect what? She deceived us for 3 years. I muted the chat. The messages kept coming, individual texts from each of them, ranging from apologetic to accusatory to confused. Priya, why didn't you tell me? I thought we were close. Marcus, I'm happy for you, really, but this feels like you were trying to prove something and I don't understand what. My father, we need to have a serious conversation about how you've been managing this money. You're young. You need guidance. My mother, please come to dinner Sunday. We can talk properly. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I sat in my meditation garden and watched the koi swim in lazy circles. Here's what no one tells you about being proven right. It doesn't feel like vindication. It feels like grief. Because I'd wanted them to see me, and now they did, but only because I'd forced them to. The first week was the hardest. I'd wake up with my phone full of messages and feel this physical weight in my chest. Part of me wanted to call them back, explain everything, make it okay. But the larger part of me knew that if I did, we'd slip right back into the old pattern. They'd find a way to minimize it, to make it smaller, to fit me back into the box they'd built. My mother showed up at my house on day 8. I saw her through the security camera, standing on my porch with a container of food. She looked smaller than I remembered, older. I almost didn't open the door, but I did. Hi, Mom. Angela. She thrust the container at me. You need to eat. I've been eating. I made your favorite, palak paneer. We stood there, her on the porch, me in the doorway. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside. She walked through my house like she was touring a museum, touching things lightly, taking it all in. When we got to the meditation garden, she stopped. You designed this? Yes. It's beautiful. Thank you. She turned to face me. I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting that. I'm sorry we didn't see you. I'm sorry we made you feel like you had to hide this. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry I called your work a little job. I'm sorry I compared you to Mrs. Kapoor's daughter. I'm sorry for all of it. I felt something loosen in my chest. Mom, let me finish. She wiped her eyes. Your father and I, we came to this country with nothing. We worked so hard to build something stable, safe. And when you kids came along, all we wanted was for you to be secure. We thought that meant traditional paths, predictable outcomes. She sat down on the garden bench. You were always so quiet, so self-contained. We thought that meant you were, I don't know, content with less. We didn't realize you were building something we couldn't even imagine. I sat down next to her. I should have told you, I said. Maybe, but would we have listened? Really listened? We sat in silence for a while. Your father is struggling with this, she said finally. He feels like you don't trust him, like you think he's a bad father. That's not... I know, but that's how he feels. Marcus, too. They're both hurt. And I'm supposed to manage their feelings about my success? She looked at me sharply. Then, slowly, she smiled. No, you're not. You're absolutely right. She patted my hand. But maybe, when you're ready, we could try again, all of us. I thought about it. Maybe, but things are different now, Mom. I'm different. I'm not going to pretend to be smaller just to make everyone comfortable. I wouldn't want you to. She stayed for an hour. We talked about the house, the company, my plans. She asked real questions. She listened to the answers. When she left, she hugged me tight. I'm proud of you, Beta. I should have said that first. I started therapy 2 weeks after the confrontation, not because I was falling apart, because I wanted to understand why I'd hidden my success in the first place, why I'd needed their validation so desperately that I'd rather be invisible than risk their judgment. My therapist, Dr. Chen, was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who'd built her practice from scratch. "Tell me about your family," she said in our first session. I gave her the sanitized version, the Sunday dinners, the well-meaning comments, the slow erosion of being seen. "And you're angry," she said in our first session. I don't know if angry is the right word. What is the right word? I thought about it. Disappointed. In them? In myself, for needing them to see me at all. Dr. Chen leaned back. "Angela, wanting your family to acknowledge your worth isn't a weakness, it's human. The question is, what do you do when they can't give you what you need?" That became the work. Learning to separate my sense of self from their perception of me, learning that I could love them and still recognize their limitations, learning that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting and boundaries didn't mean cruelty. I started journaling, pages and pages about my childhood, my relationship with Marcus, the moments I'd swallowed my truth to keep the peace. I read books about family systems and birth order and immigrant family dynamics. I learned that my father's need to control came from his own fears of instability, that my mother's peacekeeping was her survival mechanism, that Marcus genuinely didn't know he was being condescending because that's how our family had always operated, him as the golden child, me as the quiet one. Understanding didn't erase the pain, but it gave it context. I started setting boundaries. When my father called to discuss my financial planning, I said, "Dad, I have advisors, but thank you." When Marcus texted asking if I wanted to grab coffee to clear the air, I said, "I'm not ready yet. I'll let you know when I am." When Priya sent me a long message about how weird everything had gotten, I replied, "It's only weird because you're seeing me clearly for the first time. I've always been this person. You just weren't paying attention." She didn't respond for 3 days. Then, "You're right. I'm sorry." Small victories. I threw myself into work. The consulting agreement with the acquisition company was lucrative and flexible. I could work from home, set my own hours, tackle interesting problems. I started angel investing in other women-led startups. I joined boards, I mentored young engineers who reminded me of myself. Quiet, brilliant, overlooked. I built a life that had nothing to do with my family's approval, and slowly, the weight lifted. 3 months after the confrontation, I agreed to have coffee with Marcus. We met at a neutral spot, a cafe downtown, lots of people around, easy to leave if things went south. He was already there when I arrived, looking nervous. That was new. "Hey," he said, standing up. "Hey." We sat down, ordered coffee. The silence stretched. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he said finally, "about everything, about how I talked to you, how I saw you." I waited. "I was a dick," he said, "for years. I was so caught up in being the successful one that I didn't realize I was putting you down to lift myself up." "Yeah," I said, "you were." He flinched. "I'm sorry, Angie. Really, I'm so fucking sorry." I studied my brother, the golden child who'd never had to question his place in the world. "Do you know what hurt the most?" I asked. "It wasn't that you were successful. I was happy for you, genuinely. It was that you couldn't imagine I might be successful too. In your mind, there was only room for one of us to be exceptional, and you'd already claimed that spot." His eyes were red. "I know, I see that now." "Do you? Or are you just upset that your little sister has more money than you?" It came out harsher than I intended, but I didn't take it back. Marcus sat with it. "Both," he said finally. "I'm upset that I was wrong about you, that I missed it, that I was so arrogant I couldn't see what was right in front of me. And yeah, my ego is bruised. I thought I was the successful Reyes kid. Turns out I was just the loud one." I laughed. I couldn't help it. He smiled. What? That might be the most honest thing you've ever said to me. We talked for 2 hours, really talked. I told him about the company, the building process, the nights I stayed up coding while they all assumed I was watching Netflix. He told me about the pressure he felt to be perfect, to live up to Dad's expectations, to prove that the family immigration story had a happy ending. I'm still angry, I told him when we were leaving. This isn't fixed. I know. But I'm willing to try. Slowly. He hugged me. That's more than I deserve. 6 months after I opened that door and said, "Welcome to my home," my family came to dinner at my house. Not Sunday dinner, Saturday, because I'd set the boundary. Sunday dinners were at my parents' house on their terms. Saturday dinners would be at mine on my terms. My mother brought Pollock Lanier, my father brought wine, Marcus brought flowers, Priya brought her new boyfriend who she'd been nervous to introduce to the family. We ate in my dining room, the one with the windows overlooking the meditation garden. We talked about work, relationships, Priya's grad school applications. My father asked me about my consulting work, actual detailed questions about the technology and the market. Marcus told a story about losing a major deal and how it had humbled him. My mother laughed at my father's terrible jokes. Priya's boyfriend fit right in. It was ordinary, easy, real. After everyone left, I sat in my garden and watched the sunset. I thought about the security footage I still had saved, that 47 seconds of silence when my family realized they didn't know me at all. I used to watch it when I felt small, when I needed to remind myself that I'd built something real. Now I barely think about it, because the real revenge wasn't the mansion, it wasn't even proving them wrong. The real revenge was building a life so full and so rich that their validation became optional. I still love my family, I see them regularly. We're rebuilding trust, slowly, honestly. But I don't need them to complete me anymore. I don't need to be small to make them comfortable. I don't need to hide my light to preserve their egos. I used to believe that silence was safety. Now I know it was erasure. I used to believe that being underestimated was just my lot in life. Now I know it was their limitation, not mine. And I used to believe that revenge meant making them hurt the way they hurt me. Now I know that the sweetest revenge is becoming so fully yourself that their opinions become background noise. I'm Angela Reyes. I'm 29 years old, I own a 5,000 square foot mansion, a thriving consulting career, and a life built entirely on my own terms. And I am finally, completely mine. Have you ever been betrayed by someone who was supposed to protect you? How did you rebuild trust? What's one thing you learned about yourself after a betrayal? Share one moment in your healing journey that changed everything. This was another story from Revenge Room, where we turn pain into purpose and betrayal into balance. Please don't forget to subscribe and join us for the next transformation.